Greetings! It is I, Dracovin, your Lord and Emperor here at the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time for our ongoing series, the Dungeons & Dragons, Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, Magic the Gathering Set, Random Adventure Builder. If you are new to this series, it's where I take this packet of the, of course, Dungeons & Dragons, Adventures in the Forgotten Realm, Magic the Gathering cards, and I design a random adventure using every last card in here. The tokens, the lands, any of the legendaries, the dungeons if they've got them, everything. I have a set of unique rules that I use to, of course, put this together. And then over on my side here, I not only display, of course, cards, so you can see the cards here, because honestly, my camera doesn't pick them up too great. But also you can see up here, I will type some stuff in here. I will type my notes up there so you can see the notes I am making as I develop this adventure. So, as I said, got some basic rules for each of these cards, and I will use them, including abilities, quotes, like the italic quotes, and what the card they are, all together to develop this adventure. So, the new episode, let's do what we do best at first and open up this pack and see what we have inside. That's important. See what we have in here. Let's begin. Let me get rid of this gold dragon because we don't need it right now. We'll put up some stuff a little later on. Oh, I see a token of a kind. It is something else. It's something new we haven't had yet. So, let's start with what we have. We have Unexpected Windfall. You're ambushed on the road. Ooh, I like that one. That's a good one to have. A Skull Knife Spy. That can be useful. Improvised Weaponry. Okay, I can see use for that. A Horde Robber. Alright, okay. Compelled Duel. Ooh. Okay. A Half-Elf Monk. Evolving Wilds. Now that's a special land, and that one's going to take me a little bit of something. I got some ideas for that. A Priest of Ancient Lore. A Direwolf Prowler. Ooh, another one in the more unique format. Displacer Beast. Gretchen Titchwillow. So a legendary. And then, of course, we have a Red Dragon. That goes with the Horde there. And a Bard class. So we have a class. And a Forest. And, of course, good old Dungeon the Mad Mage. The Goblin token. Dungeon the Mad Mage is going to be the most difficult out of all of these to insect. Because already, looking at these cards, which what I usually do here is I take a few minutes to discuss kind of my basic ideas looking through these as I assemble the cards so that we can look at them directly. So, I feel like this is a very, it screams story more than anything. I can see with the Red Dragon and the Horde Robber that, you know, we can kind of set up that one of the big story beats is going to be, of course, a dragon got its horde stolen. And that's a I feel like that's a pretty good place to kind of start with some of this stuff here. The improvised weaponry, I think we can figure out something for it. It'll be kind of like, we'll kind of build encounters here. Same with the compelled duel. It'll be kind of like maybe an investigation of some kind. Half-Elf Monk, of course, we can have as a character, maybe the one I'm having duels with. The Evolving Wilds, that's a little bit of a tricky one, I think. I think we can figure something out for it, because it's a secondary land, which means almost like we're going to use the forest to start out with, and then journey. That might be a way to do it. Again, the Priest of Ancient Lore, another NPC. Whether or not it's friendly or not, I don't know yet. And of course, we do have two monsters here. The Direwolf Prowler, and the Displacer Beast. I'm going to have to check the basic CR of the Displacer Beast and learn about Gretchen Tiller a little bit before we kind of dive too far into it. Because, honestly, when it comes to these legends, learning about them a little bit is very helpful. So I will, check this out here as I assemble these cards. The Red Dragon, again, I can see where I can use it. And now the Bard class means that I feel like I'm not sure yet. That's the thing. This is a little bit tricky, the Bard class. So same with the Dungeon and the Mad Mage. Dungeon and Mad Mage feels difficult. Now, the forest we have is before the Elf Queen will aid you, you must find a way to cure the strange rot afflicting the roots of the ancient trees. Alright. I can see using that as a good quote to start the adventure. I think the idea of fighting the Red Dragon is outside the purview of what you actually want to do. I'm going to say that here. This is a big thing I'm going to say. I don't think you're going to want to fight that. So Displacer Beast is CR3, or Challenge 3. Not very difficult. That means, I think, we can keep this a very low CR adventure. Now, Gretchen. Who are you, Gretchen? Gretchen... Titch Willow. Who are you? And Gatherer. Forgotten Realms Wikipedia. Alright. So it's 5e. Wandering Halfling Druid in the late 15th century DR. Let's see here. Capable Druid, Gretchen could wild shape in a number of animal forms, including badger, mouse, tortoise. You're in the board game Betrayer Baldur's Gate. I'm the card game. You're one of the characters from Betrayers of Baldur's Gate? That's... interesting. So there isn't a lot about you. But certainly, you could be involved with this forest here. So let's start with that. Let's start with our forest here. We want to get the correct forest here. This one here. Let me put this up here. Okay, so we got the forest up here. And as I said, the idea is maybe there is a set of stories and ongoing kind of layered mission. And as much as the forest is an important point, I think we should use both the lands we have. The forest leading to the Evolving Wilds. Now, Evolving Wilds, as we see here, it says, parts of Faerun still churn with the magics of the arrogant Netherese archmages, longs dead. So, I think the Evolving Wilds should be linked, of course, with the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Your final area you're going to. And I think the dungeon shouldn't technically be much of a dungeon. We can use some of the stuff for the various rooms here. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rooms here. We can use some stuff from it to come up with something that is easy. I think Gretchen should be related, of course, to the forest that we've got there. Of course, the Horde Robber and the Red Dragon should be going together. That's an important one, because we have a good old Red Dragon. And which version of... We have this version of Red Dragon. And then the Horde Robber, of course, right here. Yeah. I think those should go together as... we got Ambushed on the Road, which can definitely be, the Soul Knife Spy combined with the Ambush. The Unexpected Windfall can end up with the Horde Robber and the Red Dragon kind of storyline. And we can add the You're Ambushed on the Road combined with the Soul Knife Spy. Honestly, we could take the Displacer Beast and the Direwolf Prowler, the two of those combined, and put them to Dungeon the Mad Mage. So we can put these, Displacer Beast, and which we have these versions of them. But we can look at the quotes that are on the original card. That's the thing is, you know, we don't have to look at the quotes of the original cards because we have these versions of them. We can combine those with the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. The Preacher of Ancient Lore could help you out to begin with. In the Forest, we could have the Compelled duel with the Half-Elf Monk. Compelled duel. And Half-Elf Monk. And I still need to do Improvised Weaponry and Bard class. I'm trying to throw things together now in certain kind of ways, because I'm like, at this point in time, I've got a lot of little components of a story, is what I feel like this is. This is not a big, easy story to put together. But, like, chapters in a story. And they're not big chapters, they're small chapters. You have to almost think about it like, if we would take something like The Lost Mines of Phandalar, there's multiple parts to it. They are like in different areas and different encounters. And in this case, that's what we're kind of building here, we're looking at. We're taking the components and coming up with things. So really the last two pieces I have to my puzzle are the Improvised Weaponry and Bard class. Now, I will be looking at each of these instants and sorceries very closely because the way I've talked about using instants and sorceries and the legendary creatures and such. And this is where I turn to my rules, which I have off to the side here, and kind of go over them. The Improvised Weaponry has to be important. That's the thing. And so does the Bard class. The class enchantment, an important NPC could be his class. An NPC-type villain could have it, or an item story guide could be related to it in some way. So Bard is going to be important to this storyline. So, where do we go from there? I want to use Bard to tie everything together in my story. So, maybe let's look at each individual component as we've built them, and the order that we're kind of going in, and kind of talk about what the overall story will be. Because it sounds like it kind of is a series of stories linked together. So far, we have the Stolen Dragon Horde, part of the adventure. Then we have an ambush by some psionic rogues. An encounter with a druid that leads to a meeting with an elf queen, and a duel with a half-elf monk. Eventually leading to a magical location influenced by Netherese magic, where there is a dungeon of a mad bard. Where there's Displacer Beast and Prowler. And we can kind of try to link some of these together in a way. And where am I going to throw Improvised Weaponry? That's a good question. A sudden need for something. Perhaps that can kind of be put in with the half-elf monk. Improvised. Well, the thing is, we're already compelled duel. So that doesn't feel proper to do a sorcery and an instant together. They're story beats that these are being used for, and that's important. Perhaps the Improvised Weaponry could be used with Gretchen. We could figure something out with that, in that storyline. Maybe. How do we link all this together? I think that's the big thing I have here, is I have components of a story that I can see the order I do this story in, using these cards. But how to link it all together. and why you on this trail. Perhaps let's start with the Red Dragon. The Dragon has had its hoard stolen. It's an ongoing threat. Let's make it a powerful Red Dragon that had its hoard stolen. It's not going to show up, though. Because the thing is, I can, according to my rules, use a exceptionally powerful creatures as an obstacle to overcome rather than an enemy for non-legendary things. Like, if it doesn't match the overall level of the adventure, creature flair will be used. I'm already thinking that this can be level 3, honestly. Level 3 adventure. So let's call this level 3 adventure. Alright? Cool. That's where we're going to start with this. Let's throw this improvised weapon off of here. And let's, of course, turn back to our friend, the Red Dragon. Alright, let's keep this on. It's going to be the threat. It's going to be where things start out with. And I think an unexpected windfall can be there too. Yeah. I think that's where we start all of this. We have to tie it all together. So let's start with this. In a, where do we want to set this in? Where do we want to start setting it in? I could do a bar. You know, actually, a money lender friend of the PCs suddenly gains control of a bit of wealth from unexpected and mysterious source. Asks PCs to help escort the treasure from the small town gained it at to a big city. Alright. This is a moneylender that's a friend of the PC's group. Or at least a couple of the PCs. Maybe just even associate with the PCs and just help them out. He's like, hey, I'll pay you, do this favor. I've got this unexpected windfall. I got this pile of treasure. Don't know where it came from. I need some help. Ancient Red Dragon shows up. Was its stolen treasure. So now we have, from there, the Red Dragon showing up. So this Red Dragon has shown up because it wants its treasure. Because this is part of its treasure that was stolen. And that's where our PC storyline comes in. They can't fight this thing. It's going to kidnap the friend. Force PCs to find the thief and rest of the treasure. This dragon, honestly, it's evil, but it's also smart. It knows that, it going around doing this is going to attract the wrong attention. So, the small treasure, and a small part of its treasure, and a small part of its area, it can easily convince these lesser beings to do the job for it. That's where our hoard robber comes in. This is the thief. Our person that stole the treasure from the dragon. But we're not fighting the hoard robber or doing anything with them yet. So, who do they go to? Well, a name comes up. Thief had strange, let's say magic, to avoid dragon's detection. Go to a cleric of a knowledgeable cleric. Knowledgeable cleric for information. So that's where our Priest of Ancient Lore comes in, because we can have the Priest of Ancient Lore, there we go, be the one that tells the characters, our PCs, about information about it. They know that there was this ancient bard who knew of the magic of it. And so, ancient bard who made that magic points in the direction of the Elven Kingdom and their queen. So the Elven Kingdom and the queen know about this. Now, along the way, our PCs are, of course, ambushed. You're ambushed on the road. PCs ambushed along the way. Psionic rogues who work for someone. They do not reveal, even if captured or tormented, where they come from. But we know they're working for whoever has taken over Mad Bard's dungeon. The work for group in control of Final Dungeon. So that's where we get your ambush on the roll and our Soul Knife Spy. Because these can be the rogues, which will be going after our PCs. It's all related to the same thing here. The thing is, the group needed something, for whatever reason, part of the treasure was lost, ended up at the moneylender. That's going to be the big thing here. Is why did you get the treasure, the unexpected windfall to begin with? Let's go back for a second, because I want to... Yeah. Let's say, found a chest that seemed to have fallen into a river and was swept away. So effectively, they were transporting the stolen hoard out of the area, or trying to get it to where they could have control over it, and kind of in places that it was keeping the dragon from detecting it. And this one chest got out. As soon as the moneylender opened it up, the dragon could find his gold and treasure and could go after it. So, the priest suggests talking to a old friend who can get them a meeting with the Elf Queen. And this is where Gretchen Tillwillow comes in. Gretchen, or Titchwillow. A druid who's on good terms with the elves. So, you know, we've got someone that's your get in with the queen. Honestly, I have no place to put improvised weaponry yet. So let's put improvised weaponry on the back burner for now and try to figure out. Maybe we'll throw it into the dungeon, honestly. That's where our forest card comes in, honestly. So, the Elf Queen, have a meeting with the Elf Queen. Meet with Elf Queen will help in return for a secret formula from the Bard's Lair, the ancient Mad Bard's Lair, that will cure a plant disease ravaging the forest. But before they go, Queen's half-elf daughter. So basically, the Queen has probably heirs, but one of them happens to be a half-elf. That's probably not in line for the throne. Challenges the players to a duel. One that is challenges players to a duel to prove worth to work for the elves slash their strength. This is kind of where the compelled duel idea comes into. It's the idea that so we got the half-elf monk over here, which will be just a half-elf monk. I mean, you know, daughter is a monk. There you go. And then the compelled duel, of course, that goes along with this is effectively putting it that, like, she's forcing a duel with her to prove their worth, you know, kind of like a fisticuff. And we're keeping out the improvised weaponry, right, for now. So, I think I've got a place for the improvised weaponry, honestly. That will actually be an interesting one. So, let's talk about our combination of the Evolving Wilds and the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. So, I think using the Evolving Wilds next is the location we're going to. Location, a strange, magical place filled, that was once an old Netherese, outpost, let's call it. So, the idea here is the location where this dungeon of the Mad Bard is was this ancient Netherese outpost that the Mad Bard took over. Mad Bard had taken over, mastered strange alchemies, magics, and musics. There you go. So now we have this location, our Dungeon of the Mad Bard, a place that's this ancient Netherese outpost that he took over, where this strange group has done there. And of course we're using, right now, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and we're combining that with our Bard class. Now, our Bard class, you know, gives you some bonuses to legendary spells and gives bonuses to legendary creatures and stuff like that. So the idea is that maybe what we can do with this is that each room here's something we're going to note then. And we're not going to, as we don't do into full design for all these things. We're just coming up with some ideas of it. Each room of the dungeon is filled with a different magical music which affects the creatures inside. That's where we're kind of combining it with our Bard abilities, is that each room has a magical music that affects everyone. So, we have Yawning Portal, Dungeon Lair, Goblin Bazaar, Twisted Caverns, Lost Level, Runestone Cavern, Muriel's Graveyard, Deep Mines, Mad Wizard's Lair. Whew. I have, of course, the Horde Robber, which could be our boss. Anyway, the boss of it. The rogue, this tiefling rogue, which is at the heart of the Mad Bard's lair, and heart of this roguish organization that is using its magic and abilities to steal things and do stuff like that. we could have the one of these places be here where the potion can be found for the elves. The Direwolf can be in one of them. The Displacer Beast, the other one. Actual goblins could be in one of them. Goblins could have infested part of it. And I think we should use in one of these improvised weaponry. But where? Ooh. That's the thing about using these dungeon cards, which is in part of the rules that I've kind of established for myself. When you use these dungeons, I want to use each of the various rooms and encounters they do to help build out the dungeon I have. I'm basically defined the dungeon here. If we didn't have a dungeon card, it would be pretty simple. I'd just be like, it's an ancient Netherese place that, you know, a bard took over. Now granted, combining with the Dungeon of the Mad Mage and the Bard class has made something very different, more interesting than it was originally. But we want to look at each of these and then turn towards what theirs. So the Yawning Portal, in the original Dungeon of the Mad Mage, it's basically an entry level. And maybe that's what will make this here, is that first room house of some kind. Basically, a place that someone would live. Kind of innocuous, long since abandoned, but there's nothing there. And it's kind of like maybe a resting spot that people could go to. But that's when you lead into the first secret lair, which, let's say, the dungeon level is underneath is a maze. So have your characters navigate a maze first. Now, the maze can lead to two different locations. Group of goblins lost in the maze can fight players. So that's where our goblin token, which is on the back of the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and, you know, right there, comes in. And it's also a goblin bazaar. There's a group of goblins that have been trapped in here. From the Twisted Caverns, rather than to make the dungeon levels of the entire maze and make the other two rooms be things that you can find in the maze, I think that's a good idea. It's sort of like each of those levels has like smaller rooms almost connected to it in how the dungeon works. And I think that, you know, we kind of get into it. The other thing in here is that beast that patrols maze, Displacer Beast. So in this case, our Displacer Beast becomes what is hunting in the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, or the Dungeon of the Mad Bard. It's hunting down things that would be there in this first kind of maze level. So we're down to, of course, oh, sorry, I did use Gretchen. I'm going to put Gretchen over here. So we're down to two things here. We got our Direwolf here, and our improvised weaponry, and we still have the rest of our dungeon. And I think that's where our two other kind of encounters. So in our one cavern, a cavern guarded by a few rogues and a group of dire wolves. They tamed as guard gods. No, dogs. So the Direwolf Prowler, in this case, becomes guard dogs in an area of the dungeon. Now, Muriel's Graveyard. What do I want to do with that? I want to do something that uses improvised weaponry here. Whoo boy. The thing about improvised weaponry is that you're just kind of using everything you can. So, maybe... It becomes tough here. Because sort of like the improvised weaponry, it stands out as something that should be, honestly, important. It's a sorcery. So it's, as I said, it's similar to instance, has an in-game effect. It'll affect the story and the story beats. It's more important than instants when it comes to effects of the story beats. And even the instants are meant to reflect the story beats of the game. So maybe, rather than the PCs using improvised weapons, the graveyard can be something left over for the Mad Bard. Graveyard guards or grave of servants of the Bard guard the old Lair. The dead rise and use instruments to fight the PCs. So this is like an odd one because it's sort of like this level is guarded, but the main entrance, you know, you need a magic item lets the robber past. So this level here, which is more of like the actual area controlled by it, you know, we've gotten through the initial house and the maze under it, then where the, you know, the research and things that the Mad Bard did are guarded by a number of rogues and their direwolves that they've tabbed, and an actual like kind of graveyard of some of the people that assisted the old bard using instruments to fight these, and that you need a special magic item to get past. And then in the final layer of the Mad Bard is the Horde Robber, leader of the rogues of this place. So there you go. And then so we link it back to the Horde Robber, who's our boss now, this tiefling rogue. And then you fight it in the lair. That's it. Keep it simple. And honestly, this actually works. Strangely enough, it took a little bit to build this entire thing together, but I think it works pretty well as an interesting and compelling story. We kind of hit all the story beats that I kind of would want to in this, and going over these cards. So, yes, things like the lands didn't come in right away. When you have two lands, you kind of have to figure out ways to use them and combine them together, especially with a dungeon, too. And the version of a dungeon we have here is like an old Netherese research laboratory that were someplace that was taken over by an insane bard and used to do his own research, and now taken over by, basically, thieves. So, let's review our story from the start now, that we've kind of put it together, honestly. And I think put it together pretty well. So we start out with our unexpected Windfall. An old friend of our PCs has gotten hold of some treasure. He found it. A chest that seemingly floated down the river from somewhere, filled with treasure, strangely enough. In a small town, he asks for the PCs to escort him. Unfortunately, along the way, they encounter a powerful ancient red dragon, who is smart enough to know that these people are probably not behind what was going on. He uses magic to track his treasure that has been stolen, and these people here, they didn't hide it. But maybe they could work for him. So it turns out there is a robber behind this who stole his treasure using some kind of strange magic. He takes the PC's friend, I say kind of a moneylender, hostage, and effectively puts them on the path of finding his lost hoard, or its lost hoard, and bringing the thief to justice, or bringing the thief to them. So they consult a priest of ancient lore who might know about the magic that was used to steal from the dragon. The type of strange magic that avoids a dragon's detection, a very powerful ancient dragon. He points them in the direction of the Elven Queen and the Elven Kingdom that is nearby. and mentions a friend, Gretchen, who would lead them and be able to basically arrange a meeting with the Elf Queen. But along the way, they're ambushed on the road while going to the Elf Queen by a number of psionic rogues. Turns out that probably psionics are involved in the magic the bard developed. Now, they do eventually meet with Gretchen, who, because an old friend of the priest, doesn't take a lot of convincing to bring them, of course, to the forest where the Elf Queen is. Now, the Elf Queen does know about where this magic comes from, and conveniently, the PCs might be able to do something to help. There's a blight going on, and though they're investigating it, there are rumors that the Bard, or the place that they're going to, the Dungeon of the Mad Bard, as I've been calling it, I'll probably call it something else, honestly, like, you know, the Lair of the Mad Bard? Sure, we can call it the Lair of the Mad Bard. Actually could be the title for this adventure. Lair of the Maddened Bard. There you go. I like that name. Lair of the Maddened Bard. Anyway, so in order to get their information, they basically get something out of there if the person has it. Now, unfortunately, before the deal can be struck and information we had, the half-elf daughter of the queen, who isn't really in line for the throne, what looks after it, basically challenges the PCs to a duel in order to prove themselves worthy of doing this mission, and that they can also beat it up, and that they are, that someone else shouldn't be put on charge of it, that basically she shouldn't maybe put in charge of it or something like that. So that, in order to get the information, they have to duel her, but defeating her, they will learn of an ancient area of lost Netherese magic, and of course, a Netherese laboratory that was once there at the heart of this. Exploring this, they will find the, right here, the Dungeon of the Mad Bard, or the Lair of the Maddened Bard, as they would call it. And the entire place is under magic that would seem very musical and bard spells. So every room and place you explore to affected by music. I guess in this terms, every layer, every floor of this place is affected by it. Of course, the start of this is a simple kind of house, a place to rest. That is the tip of the iceberg, a trick of it in this magical place. It would make you think that there's nothing there, but there really is a powerful dungeon under it. Beneath there is a maze, and of course that maze has both a group of goblins that have been caught in there while trying to explore, and it is lorded over by a displacer beast that the goblins have been managing to avoid. Defeating both of these things and heading deeper into the dungeon, the next layer, and not only will they be able to claim the formula that the elves were looking for, but they'll battle against more of those rogues and some of the direwolves that they've been training to guard their place, and a number of undead that were created by the Maddened Bard, using instruments as weapons to fight those that would invade the place. And the only way to avoid them, as they are blocking the lair where the Mad Bard lives, which is a special magic item that the undead would recognize, the zombies and skeletons. Of course, our good friend, the Horde Robber, has this magic item and then uses it to hide itself away in the lair, where it keeps the dragon's hoard and the secrets of this bard's magic, psionic magic, and is the boss of this place. PCs fight the boss, defeat it, probably not kill it, bring out the treasure, bring out the thing, give it to the dragon. The dragon will, for lack of better terms, accept this as a tribute, and then effectively leave. The red dragon, though evil, is smart, and as I said, there are forces in this area that if it caused a lot of trouble, might come and interfere with its existence, and it prefers to keep in good terms. So that's really the idea of using an ancient red dragon. if it starts up a problem, maybe the ancient gold dragon that's nearby and the ancient silver dragon that's nearby will team up to fight or something like that. So, yeah, that's the adventure. And you go and give the formula back to the elves, and you get your kidnapped friend back and get him back. And granted, he has no money to pay you, but maybe you got some treasure from the bard's area, and honestly, you know, can give some of that to him, maybe to make up for his losses. Who knows? That's up for PCs and how they act with this and how you want to run it. But yeah, that's the story. And you know what? It's another pretty decent one. Honestly, when I was seeing these cards originally, it kind of gave me some ideas, but some of them just threw such weird ideas at me. Honestly, combining the red dragon and the horde robber were really good combos together, and I was really kind of neat to see the two of them thrown together. And then using the forest as effectively a little different than I normally use. Lands I normally use for the terrain they go to, but I've got 2 lands. So using both of them more as story beats. One of them an area of ancient magic that's kind of mysterious and magical that can't be found without the help of the elves. The other, an elven area where we kind of get a plot point in from it. You know, there's a kind of plague and they need help with that. This kind of helps develop the adventure, and honestly, it feels like a good one. It feels like a very fun, standard, like, 3rd level adventure. You know, the Displacer Beast, probably a pretty tough fight. Some Direwolf's tough fight, and make the Horde Robber like a challenge 4, and call it a day. And there you go. You know, the robber found a magic that allowed them to steal a very powerful dragon's horde. That's impressive, but also pretty crazy. Pretty dumb. But I hope everybody enjoyed this one. It's another interesting one. And, you know, I already got a title for this one. Lair of the Maddened Bard. So, you know, I don't always walk away from making an adventure with that. All the links down below. Check all that kind of stuff out. You remember all that stuff for YouTube. Like, subscribe, share, comment. And, of course, more of these episodes will come out. And I hope everybody out there is having yourself a great day. And I'm going to say for now, I bid all of you out there with my horde robbing friend right here a very wonderful goodbye.